Our story begins in a new world that was created by God. This world is eccentric, created solely to kill God's boredom. God named this eccentric world Abyss, and he began to slowly flood his creations into this world. Struggle and war were desperate and inevitable means of survival. Humans in this world experience survival and struggle. Fight, kill, and survive, and God shall reward them. God enjoyed everything that happens in this world. Or rather, there was nothing more entertaining to him than this. During the fight against monsters, there was a man vomiting blood and struggling in pain. He slowly stood without knowing that a huge dragon was behind him. The dragon didn't let him escape and immediately struck using its sharp nails. The man lay back on the ground, but surprisingly, he still dared to laugh loudly and curse the dragon, believing that dragons will be screwed anyway. This time, the dragon blows his last attack, and the man already accepts his defeat and concludes that if it's the other team who fought this monster instead of him, they might succeeded. After the dragon attacked him, a golden flame emerged and was also flowing into the hand of a lady. With this signal, she declared that the last dead squad just passed away. She glanced at her comrades and said that the 4 of them are what remains of humanity. She's Urs, the monarch of the Valkyrie Final Death Squad. She's together with Keldian, Kang T, and the man who was leaning on the rock, Kang Hansoo. Kang Hansoo heard Urs say that the 4 of them were the only ones who could save humanity. He looked so tired and hopeless. He glanced at Archeniel's time-space, a great orb known to possess the mysterious power to return to the past. The last hope of humanity, which ended up getting annihilated 50 years after entering the abyss. As per Kang T, only one person can return to the past. What's there to think about? Isn't it already clear who's going? The strongest among us. For example, you know who, don't you? He asked while holding his chin. He was referring to himself as he was confident with his ability. I thought you were finally going to say something reasonable for once. I regret having expected something from you for even a second. Keldian replied. Urs then walked towards them, telling them to keep things in moderation. Since most of the Valkyries sent to battle the Golden Dragon are down, she believes that it's only a matter of time before it gets to them. She knows that her decision will be unfair to one of them, but then she doesn't have any choice since they don't have a way out now. She went to Kang Hansoo and declared that the one among them who can return to the past is none other than Kang Hansoo. Kang Hansoo this time was emotionless, and he wasn't excited at all. He glanced at his hand that has lots of scars, and the scars were proof that he have fought for way too long. He has fought to survive every day for those long years. He has fought over and over again as he doesn't have a choice. And now, going back to the past is the same as dying. While he was staring at his hands for too long, Urs told him not to sound so weak. She said that the hope of humanity is now in the hands of Kang Hansoo. She kneeled in front of Kang Hansoo while saying it, and she stood after a few seconds while sincerely asking him not to give up on his hope. Kang Hansoo was still silent while staring at his team. Urs is right. The fact that you started 20 years later than us yet are still here in this position is proof itself. Keldian said. He added that Kang Hansoo's abilities started a bit earlier than them, or even just 5 years earlier. He believes that the present time would be different. Kang T smiled and agreed with Keldian. He even acknowledged Kang Hansoo's ability, but he allowed Kang Hansoo to speak up if he really didn't want to go back in the past. If I go back, I can get all the items I couldn't get before. I meant, you can take them all, since you're the only one who can go back. He added, hoping that he could force Kang Hansoo. Kang Hansoo slightly smiled and stood without any words. He walked towards the Archeniel's time-space while his comrades were staring, rooting for him to save the world. But then, before he could enter the time-space, he noticed something strange. A light appeared coming from outside, and Kang Hansoo then saw a hole. In this hole, they saw someone heading to them. As expected, it was the dragon who was aiming to kill them all. The dragon started to blow a flame. At this moment, Keldian advises Kang Hansoo not to get distracted, and he says that they will go and stop the dragon from coming to him. He activates his power and creates a golden pentagram. With this, he was able to block the dragon's flame while asking Urs and Kang T to switch blocking the enemy. Make sure you hold it off while I get ready. He said, leave it to us. How about I show you my skills now? Kang T answered while blocking the huge rock. Iren was also beside him, kneeling on the ground. She then jumped away to get near the monster and instructed Kang T to follow her lead. She spun her weapon while several dragons were waiting for her next move. She slammed her weapon on the ground, and when her skill was activated, she gave a signal to Kang T that it was now his chance. Kang T then swung his axe. He was flaming while telling Urs that there was no need for her to tell him as he knew what to do. He spun his weapon and created a strong flame. He then screamed and raised his weapon, then attacked the monsters. After that, he glanced at the monsters, thinking if he successfully made it. Unfortunately, the golden dragon stomped on his weapon. He was sweating and he gritted his teeth while he was trembling as he was trying his best to push away the dragon's foot. At the same time, Keldian opens his book while telling Kang Hansoo to focus, knowing that Kang Hansoo's weapon is already broken, and he should stop thinking about this place and focus to return back in the past. Urs agreed to him. She wants Kang Hansoo to leave the place to them and just go. Don't just set people who come to you aside because you find them annoying. Do your best to take care of them. "Will you please listen to me this one time?" she said. And Kang Hansoo answered that he would try. Slightly smiled since Kang Hansoo for her doesn't change at all even in this kind of circumstance. She then turned around while telling Keldian that she would leave the rest to him. Keldian didn't respond at all but instead uttered Kang Hansoo's name. He apologized to him and told him that he needed to listen carefully. He started to activate his magic power to help Kang Hansoo return back to the past. Kang Hansoo was just staring at him, and Keldian told him that Urs was right for saying that there's no reason to kill needlessly. He wants Kang Hansoo not to show mercy to the cockroaches who will only bring harm during the Great War. He also advises Kang Hansoo that he must save only those who deserve to leave and make sure to kill the Berserk monarch Clementine once he successfully goes back in the past. Understood, Kang Hansoo? He asked. Still, Kang Hansoo didn't give any response but they both stared at each other's eyes. Keldian then told him to get ready, and the golden flame and light appeared from his book's magic power. While doing the process of returning Kang Hansoo to the past, the Archenial's time-space also flames. It was sinning while Kang Hansoo was looking at it with a serious face. A flash of lightning emerges from the time-space while his companion is waiting for what will happen. Keldian then clasped his hands and his power was activated, together with Kang Hansoo sipping in by the Archenial's time-space. When he transmitted to another setting, he saw several people wondering about what place they were right now. Kang Hansoo with a serious face as usual was observing the surroundings. He then held his face and thought that he successfully returned to the past. This time, he vows that he won't fail in this life. The people who were also with him were confused since they were clueless about what world they were currently in. There were also people arguing and blaming each other, but Kang Hansoo wasn't surprised at all since he knew that these people were just flustered for appearing in another world. At the same time, he recalled the year when he was born, which was very special since at first it was 100 people, but the number increased exponentially. So many people went missing that it went out of control. And the year he turned 20, he went missing due to an unknown power. The place called the Otherworld devours other dimensions and is the midpoint of the Abyss's impact. Those who arrived first learned skills first and were overly active, but the strange-looking monsters made it a horrific palace. It was a world of violence and lawlessness. Those who were devoured by the Abyss were transported to the Otherworld. And when everyone from this world arrives here, the door to the Abyss will open, and the Great War will start. Starting from now, Kang Hansoo only has about 5 years to become strong. He started moving and he noticed that the skills he had learned and his strength were all gone. He looks at the sky, believing that the Abyss will appear this time. And he wasn't right at all. The sky suddenly breaks and creates a small hole. A tiny monster then comes out from it. It was like a bat that had yellow horns. Everyone was looking at it, and none of them had any idea about what was happening. The monster flies near them and clears his throat. He widely smiled and greeted everyone, introducing himself as the assistant fairy who only appeared to help these people with the quick proceedings. The people were very serious while listening to him, and he asked them to focus and listen to him carefully while he was talking. Kang Hansoo crossed his arms and stared at the assistant fairy with annoyance as he knew that the quick proceedings this monster spoke of involved telling everyone to fight and beat each other up. At this time, the so-called assistant fairy welcomed everyone to this otherworld. He said that a surprising opportunity will be given to everyone from now on. Otherworld, what's that? Stop the nonsense and send me home. The man angrily shouted. The tiny monster looked at him with anger and told him once more to listen to his explanation first. Despite that the man was mad at him, he chose not to speak again since the tiny monster's tone suddenly changed, which made him terrified. According to the tiny monster, infinite freedom is given to everyone in place. Law, order, morals, and ethics have they dreamt of a world that will be free from all rules. It's not just that. All the physical limitations that are weighing them down will disappear. Depending on what they do, they can infinitely grow stronger like a hero in a movie. The chance to make everything you imagine come true. Isn't that awesome? He asked. Now, he told them that he would show them a simple demonstration of what to do. He snapped his finger and the man who dared to interrupt him earlier appeared in front of him. The man was confused about what the monster will do, but he was too late to react since the monster attacked him without any words. His blood splattered around and the people who witnessed the scene were too stunned to speak. The man instantly died and his corpse was lying on the ground. I'm sorry, I don't like people who are loud and talk a lot, the monster uttered. Everyone then ran as fast as they could since they were all afraid to be the next target of this monster. But then, with just the monster's finger, he was able to attack those people who dared to run. The people paused and just cried in fear. I told you that I hate loud things, the monster said with anger. This time, his eyes are just like a demon. Those of you who are still alive will work hard, right? He asked. But no one answered his question and remained silent. The monster smiled back again as he was glad that the humans were quiet so he could now continue talking and give them all the instruction needed. He summoned something and he explained that this thing is called a rune, and the people can obtain it by killing anything alive. He added that there are 8 other ones that look similar to this item, and they appear randomly. This rune is colorless, but if they work hard and grow, they can obtain better runes. And this rune he was holding is the rune that increases their strength. He asked the people who wanted to take this rune. Everyone was silent for a moment, but someone bravely raised his hand, and as expected, it was Kang Hansoo. He wanted to get the rune since it's been a while since he have used one. The monster then raises the rune and flies towards Kang Hansoo while saying that Kang Hansoo is very good for having an enthusiastic attitude. He faced Kang Hansoo with a wide smile and asked Kang Hansoo's name. Kang Hansoo then followed his command and the monster immediately dropped the rune on his hand while saying that runes twist the law. He crossed his arms while explaining that Kang Hansoo's muscle significantly had a limit weight of 117.1 kilograms, but because of the runes, it increased to 122.3 kilograms. Kang Hansoo remained emotionless and the monster was puzzled since it was not the reaction he was expecting. He didn't know that it was too boring for Kang Hansoo to hear the same thing again when he knew about it already. The monster flies back to his position while still explaining that the runes have different effects depending on their type. Runes is full of abilities that cannot be explained by science. I want to show you one more time. Is there someone who wants to try? He asked. But the people, except for Kang Hansoo, were trembling in fear. Since no one volunteered, the monster decided not to show the demonstration again. As per the monster, no matter what happens, they should take note that no matter what rune or ability it increases, it will not be a bad thing. To become stronger, they should gather a lot of runes in order for them to survive. Upon hearing it, people were shocked and immediately went to the remaining rune, trying to snatch it. Because of the rune, they were willing to attack each other knowing that it would help them to survive. The man who successfully grabbed it was glad, and after he officially owned it, the monster instantly concluded that everyone didn't need any explanation now. He takes back the rune and the humans are terrified since they now realize that killing is allowed as long as they can get the runes. Before the monster left, he went back to Kang Hansoo and pointed his ear while saying that they could touch their right ear so they could see what runes they had. He believes that humans like to quantify things. At this time, a system window appeared in front of all the participants. And as per the monster, humans are normally 10. And that is all they need to know. At the same time, Kang Hansoo was staring at his system window while holding his right ear. His current strength increased by 1 and is now 11 while his health is 9 and he has 8 points in his sense. If he gathers more runes after hunting, he believes that the numbers for mana and magic power can increase too. In this world, humans can acquire runes anywhere as long as they kill a living thing. It doesn't matter what they hunt. The start will be a little unfair as per the monster, like the place where the humans lived before, but he's planning to give them something that'll make them happy. He wants them all to forget about the past and enjoy their new life in this world. While saying it, all the participants suddenly obtained a dagger. When I leave, the tutorial will begin, so do your best, everyone. He uttered, which scares everyone since they were clueless about what the tutorial is. But then, when they glanced behind them, they saw several monsters who were also holding their weapons. These monsters were ferocious and were aiming to kill all the humans. Humans were afraid since they all now knew that killing in this world was normal. More monsters appeared behind them and were now all heading their way. These monsters were goblins, and seeing them for the first time made the people grip their knives and slowly move backward. When the monsters got near to them, a lady raised her hand and asked them all to calm down. Don't aggravate it and slowly move backward, she said. The people follow her suggestion except for Kang Hansoo. He was standing still while looking at the people behind him. The people bumped each other back and one man was annoyed why the man behind him wasn't moving. The man then answered that there was something off that blocked their way which made them unable to retreat. Are you kidding me? Let us out. The man screamed while punching the boundary. The other people also punched it but then they stopped after a few seconds when they noticed something. The walls are closing and so they don't have any way to come out. Even the area where the monsters were standing was also blocked. Monsters were very noisy and were screaming in the greediness of killing people. The man with a red bonnet immediately pointed his knife at the monsters while saying that he couldn't die just like this. At the same time, a man ran towards the boundary and surprisingly passed through it. The man with the red bonnet was shocked and asked him how he passed through. I don't know, I could just pass through here, the man answered while scratching his head. There was also a number appeared above him which is number 49. A young man noticed it, but still, the man with the red bonnet dashed to the boundary and also passed through. He was so excited thinking that he would survive. After he passed through, the number suddenly decreased and is now 48. Everyone was surprised as they concluded that 50 people might be allowed to leave. They all then rushed to the boundary, hoping that they would be part of those 50 people who could exit. While they were rushing, Kang Hansoo remained calm and didn't follow them at all. He sighed thinking that these people with him were so pathetic. He knew that all 100 of them just needed to get it together and fight. They might sustain injuries in the process, but there will be fewer casualties. When he first arrived in this world, roughly 40 people died of the goblins. Out of all the people who couldn't pass through the wall, only 10 survived. But for him, it will be a different story this time. First, he needs to clear this area and move on to the next stage. The goblins started rushing towards the people with killing intent. As expected, people were startled and scared. One man was about to be stabbed by a goblin, but when he asked for help, someone blocked the goblin's weapon and sliced the goblin's body. The man witnessed what just happened but he was too speechless. It was Kang Hansoo who saved him. He bravely fought against goblins using only one knife. A tiny goblin swung his stick and was planning to hit Kang Hansoo, but Kang Hansoo easily deflected the goblin's arm and sliced him to death. While he was fighting bravely, the other goblins noticed his capability. Also, there are no signs of fear on his face. He was waiting for more goblins to attack him while the other people who saw his braveness were dumbfounded. Kang Hansoo was sweating as he felt so tired. He feels a bit unforgettable since this was his body from tens of years ago. He kneeled on the ground to check his system and saw 10.1 on his dexterity. With this, he felt so lucky knowing that dexterity doesn't just increase speed. At this moment, his time warps increasing reaction speed by 0.1 times, which means he can do the same action that much faster. While staring at his window, a goblin throws a dagger from behind, but since Kang Hansoo can now do the same actions much faster, he is able to turn his head behind at a fast speed and deflect the goblin's weapon. Ends up hitting the other monster nearby. He was still kneeling on the ground and the goblins felt irritated, so they all decided to attack together in one go. Upon seeing them, Kang Hansoo then stood while recalling that goblins would rile up as soon as they saw blood. He held tight on his knife and slashed the goblins one by one. As the rules advise, he gets runes in each goblin he kills. He immediately grabbed the runes and clenched his fist to absorb it. The people were impressed and shocked to see him fighting all alone. Because of his braveness, the other people also had the guts to fight against monsters. They rushed to the remaining goblins and the goblins were alarmed upon seeing their eagerness. The humans were all now brave facing the goblins while Kang Hansoo also continued killing their enemies. He was just calm knowing that there was no need to rush in the beginning. But this time, there's no time to dawdle around right now. Including this place, there were many travelers. If they continue the whole world, there will be an immeasurable amount. The first years that come here, for the following 3 months, will be protected in the tutorial area. Once the 3-month period where they are protected by the tutorial area passes, they will thrown into a fight with the second and third years. But whatever they may think, this is a chance for Kang Hansoo. After killing goblins, he immediately grabbed every rune that dropped as this would be his chance to get stronger, even if just a little. He clenched his fist to absorb the rune and remembered his comrade. This time, he agreed that Urs made the right choice in sending him to this period. After a few minutes of fighting, all the goblins are finally wiped out because of Kang Hansoo, and the people cannot believe to see someone kill all the monsters without asking for help from them. He fought that many of them on his own. The young man asked with a stuttering voice. The corpses of the goblins were on the ground and Kang Hansoo was standing in the middle. There were also humans that were killed during the battles, and Hansoo was so mad at the monsters. He was wiping the blood on his face and heard the voice of the purple tiny monster acknowledging for going during the battle. He was also surprised to see the amount of participants left was decent. Now you know how to survive here, right? Then I'll remove the wall now, he stated. He also told them all that they must have to keep things going onward. He wished them luck and left the people without any other advice. The people were so loud as they were cursing the purple tiny monster. But Kang Hansoo was only at the corner, checking his window, and saw that his stats weren't bad at all compared to before. If it's this much, he believes it's good enough for just a tutorial. Currently, he has a total of 14.3 strength, 10.9 dexterity, 10.1 health, and 11.2 sense. He also found something that looks pretty useful, and that is the blade that received a symbol of courtship. After checking everything, he was now clueless about how he should proceed from here. He walked while his other hand was in his pocket, and he was thinking of finding a way to get stronger quickly first. He was thinking of his comrades once more while wondering what would happen to them if one of those three was the one who returned back to the past. While remembering the past, he recalled a guy who said something to him. That guy was drinking a beer and mentioned the secret dungeons. But since Kang Hansoo was a newbie to everything, he didn't know anything about it. It turned out that the guy was referring to the hidden within the tutorial area, a dungeon of the highest difficulty. The man said that nobody was able to clear it, even him. So you only cleared up to the middle part but were still able to get this strong? Kang Hansoo asked. And the man answered that Kang Hansoo was right. Wouldn't me being here in this place as a member of Valkyrie be proof of that? He added. He also mentioned that he would clear the hidden dungeon if he was given a chance to go back to the past, and he believes that he can beat Kang Hansoo after clearing it. One thing's for certain, the harder the difficulty and the more impossible it seems, the bigger the reward when they succeed. At the present time, Kang Hansoo's goal has been decided. He concludes that there are things he has to take care of first before clearing the hidden dungeon. In terms of tutorial, it has different stages. First, the early stage where 100 people gather and act together. They act within the allotted area for 1 week at a time, and they do this hunt for 3 months. After that, once they complete the second stage of the tutorial, the safe one will be released, and they will be able to contact the people who arrived previously. There are currently 2 hidden pieces in the first stage of the tutorial, and nobody has ever reached the end. In order to reach the end of the hidden dungeon, Kang Hansoo has to obtain it. That is the only way to get stronger quickly. But first of all, he needs to obtain the closest first hidden piece. He went to the area where it can be found, but he was disturbed when he heard someone arguing behind him. It was a man who was asking a lady to come together with them, but the lady refused. Kang Hansoo already expected the conflict to happen, and now he noticed that it was happening everywhere. Where do you think you're going? We have to work together to survive. Don't you want all of us to leave, huh? The man said to the lady while pulling her arm. Kang Hansoo turned around while telling himself that he didn't have time to pay attention to these things since he needed to find the hidden piece, knowing that it would disappear in a week. As he was about to continue on his plans, someone called his name. "Aren't you Hansoo, right?" The man asked. "Do you know me?" Kang Hansoo responded. But both men were shocked by Kang Hansoo's question. The man with yellow hair who was wearing a white jacket interfered, saying that the three of them were all together just before arriving at this place. Kang Hansoo was puzzled as he didn't have any idea about these two men's identities. But after a minute, he recalled everything. Both men are his college classmates. While he was silent, the man with the white jacket felt weird with Kang Hansoo's strange behavior. Kang Hansoo completely remembers that he came on a trip with these men together with his other colleagues, but all of them died, which is why he forgot them. At the same time, the lady pushed away the man's hand who dared to attack her while saying that she and her companions would go together with Kang Hansoo. She then ran toward Kang Hansoo, and Kang Hansoo then realized that this lovely lady was also her colleague, Yumihi. He believes that this lady will definitely invite trouble, and he isn't wrong at all because the man feels insulted. He was staring at Kang Hansoo's face and recalls that it was Kang Hansoo who took care of the pack of goblins earlier. Despite that they have witnessed Kang Hansoo's ability, he isn't scared at all as he believes that Kang Hansoo is already tired and cannot be able to fight back. He then called Yumihi's attention, telling her that she should hear people out until they're done talking. "Who is that guy? He looks pretty hurt. Will he be able to do something when he looks like that?" he asked. He also warned the lady to come to him while he was talking nicely. "The more the merrier. You should come to us before we go to you," he added. Kang Hansoo was staring at him while saying that there are always some of this type of people. He sighed and added that this man was getting overexcited over his first fight without knowing who his opponent was while under the illusion that he could beat that person. He walks towards the man and the man becomes speechless. "Do you understand what I'm trying to get at?" Kang Hansoo asked and bumped the man's body. The man was annoyed at Kang Hansoo, but Kang Hansoo noticed it, so he asked the man if he had anything to say. The man didn't respond as he was afraid because of the unknown sharp weapon of Kang Hansoo. Someone then interfered and asked Kang Hansoo to calm down. "This man is a little bit old and looks like a businessman." He said that they were not bad people. It turned out that he was the boss of these bad guys. "How about you go with us?" Looking at the situation, there seems to be a lot to do, he said. He added that it would be better for them if they acted together. Kang Hansoo at this moment was staring at the man's eyes, believing that this man is adjusted to this place perfectly already, not having a reason to hide his true nature anymore and running wild like a hyena in the wild. In the end, he'll become an outlaw, so Kang Hansoo was planning to take care of him right now. But then, he recalled Keldy and told him before he returned to the past that Urs was right, that there is no reason to kill needlessly, but not to show mercy to the cockroaches who will bring harm during the Great War. In addition, Urs wants him not to push people away so much and do his best to take care of them instead. Kang Hansoo was a little bit sad since he knew that Urs was a kind-hearted lady for saving so many lives. It's not like he has time to take care of all these guys right now. And for him, these types of guys will self-destruct when left alone. He chose to turn around and told them all to back off. The man was annoyed by his attitude, but the boss told him to let it go. He mentioned his subordinate's name, which is Sungho, and told him that Kang Hansoo isn't important right now. Instead, they should focus on their main goal, which is setting order in this place. In a weird place with weird monsters, and the fairy on top of that. But there are things that he likes in this world. That is the strong rule, and he wants to take hold of their chance. They all then walked away, planning to start their goal. The colleague of Kang Hansoo was staring at these gangsters while wondering why humans are scarier than goblins. He glanced back to Kang Hansoo, admitting to himself that he already knew since then that Kang Hansoo was a strange guy, but this time, it was different. From what he knew, Kang Hansoo was a parentless bastard who was always sad and dazed in the corner, so he didn't think much of him. "Hey, Kang Hansoo, why did you act like you didn't know us?" he asked. But Kang Hansoo doesn't have any idea what to answer. After a few seconds, he lied that he currently experiencing memory loss. The guy is shocked upon hearing it, and based on how Kang Hansoo speaks, he concludes that Kang Hansoo is acting like an old man. At the same time, Yumihi chuckled beside him, so he wondered what's the reason why she was laughing. The lady could not hold it any longer and laughed so loud. Kang Hansoo was staring at her lovely face, thinking that it was a pity for her as she should leave a comfortable life, but her beauty was a double-edged blade. He even concludes that if utilized well, it could become a powerful weapon. After so many minutes, they were still walking, following Kang Hansoo. They were all silent not until the lady behind them spoke and said that they had been walking without saying a single word. "Do we have a destination?" she asked. Yumihi also agreed and asked Kang Hansoo where they were going. Kang Hansoo decided not to answer them directly, but he told them that they would know it once they arrived. After a few more seconds, they arrived at their destination and they were all clueless about where they are right now. They didn't know that they were currently at the first destination. It was in the subway station where the hidden piece was located, the Gangnam Station. Kang Hansoo led the way and continuously entered, going inside the station. Gangnam Station. Why here? Yumihi asked in confusion. Kang Hansoo was thinking that he couldn't be bothered to explain every little thing. And if it wasn't for what Urs said to him, he'd just be going around alone. Now, he doesn't have any choice. To answer Yumihi's question, he informed them that he had a hunch that this was the place to return his memory. and gain a superpower. Everyone was surprised about the superpowers he mentioned without knowing that Kang Hansoo meant to say that they've got fairies here. But superpowers honestly wouldn't even be that far-fetched. At this time, the lady doubted Kang Hansoo, so she whispered to the man beside her to ask if they should still continue following him. Kang Hansoo overheard her, and so he answered that they don't have to, as he is the kind of person who respects individual preferences. It's up to you if you want to stand back and watch, he uttered. Seeing his behavior makes the yellow-haired guy annoyed, as he really believes his guts that Kang Hansoo is just acting up. Kang Hansoo continues walking and heads downstairs. Still, his colleagues chose to follow him, although they were scared. Hey, are you sure we're heading somewhere safe? This looks kinda spooky, the yellow-haired guys said. Kang Hansoo answered no and told him that they were now going to meet some friends who already reside in this station. The guy won't believe it, knowing that no one can dare to leave this kind of scary place. He suddenly led the way without knowing anything, but Kang Hansoo stopped him. He was looking around and immediately grabbed his weapon, which made Yumehi nervous. He then called the yellow-haired man with the name Taesung and instructed him to dodge. Taesung glanced at him with confusion since he didn't see any reason to dodge. Since he was too hard-headed, Kang Hansoo decided to kill the monster on his own and save Taesung. Taesung was startled and thought that Kang Hansoo was aiming at him. He was currently sitting on the ground and finally saw the creature Kang Hansoo killed. According to Kang Hansoo, this is a dengue modeled after Gangnam Station. And these are green worms that wriggled out after sensing vibrations coming from the ground. These worms hate sunlight, so they don't normally come out of the ground. After killing one worm, a rune then appeared from it. Kang Hansoo then picked it up while giving them a warning that their flesh might be easily torn off if they got bit by its sloppy-looking mouth. He advises them to be careful, and he added that they will faint if they get bit by this creature and die before they get to do anything about it. All of his colleagues got scared, but to give them knowledge, Kang Hansoo decided to show them a simple way to deal with it. He struck another green worm's mouth, and after killing a few of them, everyone also tried it themselves and was finally able to make it. While killing worms, Kang Hansoo was staring at them and was glad that these 4 were useful, except for the guy who wore a headset, since he didn't kill even one worm yet. If you're not confident about it, walk on top of unbroken marble slabs, and if you see a crack exposing bare ground, just stab it with the blade. Watch your hands though, he said. Yumehi Wireless smiled and suggested poking the spot where dirt rises so they can easily kill it. The other lady with them agreed with her and even compared this experience of them to a game of whack-a-mole. After Kang Hansoo advises the useless guy, the guy feels sad while staring at his knife. He admitted to himself that he could not do it, but he knows that he needs to do it. Another worm charged towards him with a wide mouth open. He paused and screamed in fear, but Kang Hansoo pushed him away and sliced the monster to pieces. The guys fell on the floor. He kneeled and widely smiled while giving thanks to Kang Hansoo for saving him. Kang Hansoo at the same time thinks that there is no need to say anything further about this guy not joining the battle. He just walked away from the guy without saying any word, and he believes that this guy will end up being a burden in the end. You already seem to know what's going to happen ahead of time. How do you know? If you can tell me, Taesung said. Didn't I tell you already? It's my superpower, Kang Hansoo answered. His colleagues were silent and had no other choice but to believe what he said. Meanwhile, they have killed lots of worms and Kang Hansoo was picking up the rune. He then noticed that all his colleagues didn't pick up the rune, so he asked them why. Yumehi then answered that they had figured out that it would be good if it be he who took the runes and protected them all, similar to giving it all to someone who carries them in a game. For her, they will not become a Superman just by picking up the runes, so it's better for her if they will give them all to Kang Hansoo, and Kang Hansoo should protect them all in return. Kang Hansoo sighed and told them that they should take what they hunted. Since the 5 wanted to come with him, he expected them to at least follow the most basic rules. Those who wandered the abyss for decades established the most basic rules for the sake of coexistence. They should take what they hunt. In the case of group hunts, things will be distributed on the basis of contribution and priority. In a life-threatening crisis, relationships based on goodwill are more likely to fall apart. He knew that these 5 colleagues of his would realize soon enough how cruel and nasty this place truly was. The thing you must trust the most is your own abilities. If you're useless, you're bound to be dumped. That's the rule, he stated, and everyone got scared to be dumped. After saying it, Yumehi rushed to the runes to follow the basic rules. Their food colleagues were staring at each other's eyes and also decided to pick up the runes as Kang Hansoo wanted them to do. Kang Hansoo was staring at them, believing that these people would soon enough get used to it and wouldn't even have to be told. He concludes that these people will start fighting like dogs over possession of the runes when the time comes. While everyone was picking up the runes, Taesung noticed something strange. He was holding a rune with a different color than the normal one, and while holding it, his system window popped up to inform him that this rune is the essence of the Acral Troll tribe. At this moment, he concludes that he will gain a superpower once he takes it. Kang Hansoo was staring at the rune Taesung was holding while Taesung was recalling that Kang Hansoo nonchalantly said earlier that they should distribute the item, so he believed that Kang Hansoo will going to put him in a pinch if he started fussing now. This one, I found it, so I can keep it, right? You won't go back on your word later, right? He asked, and Kang Hansoo instantly nodded as a sign that he agreed. He knows about this rune and he can say it's a decent rune for early in the game. That skill brings defense and regeneration power, both of which are necessary for survival, so it's quite popular. Plus, it's more of a passive rune. It does increase appetite, but as for the food, they can just steal it after becoming stronger. The strength and proficiency of a skill are determined by its rank. Smart ones with plenty of magic usually have around a few 100 of them. Keldian himself acquired as many as over 1,000 skills. However, Kang Hansoo was different. Back then, they obtained different colors of runes. He grabbed the yellow one and immediately possessed it. As I thought, as for your allowed count of skills, 7 is the limit. Had we known this before, you could have learned a stronger skill. Stated after he possessed the rune. Being restricted to only 7 was a fatal flaw. But Kang Hansoo had a great strength unparalleled to this weakness. That was the endless evolution of skills he possessed. The essence of the Dororo lizard, which only adds to the fast regeneration, later on, became strong enough to rival Kang T's immortal arts, and Ganglion's rapid rush came up to the level of Keldian's signature move, Space Tier. The time comes that Urs gave him a nickname 7 stars after his unique trait. This was the trait that allowed him to stand side by side with them as he caught up to them despite falling behind by a whole 20 years. The defining trait that made him come back here on their behalf. So, in the end, he must not make a mistake this time. At this moment, he recalls that Urs told him to be careful while selecting the 7 skills to learn. If it goes according to plan, he believes it'll be a smooth ride before they leave the tutorial zone. On the other hand, T-Sung was so obsessed with the rune he was holding and he even decided to learn it as soon as possible. He started possessing the rune and the system shows to notify that the physical resistance stat has been created. It was the skill essence of the Acral Troll tribe with a proficiency of 1.0%. T-Sung was smiling widely after seeing that he got a physical resistance stat. His other stat also increased a lot too. He glanced at Kang Hansoo while telling himself that he would never give up the rune to him. He also smirked, believing that he would catch up to Kang Hansoo in no time. After an hour of staying in the same area just to kill green worms, Kang Hansoo instructed them that they should now go. T-Sung then held onto his shoulder while saying that they both should go together since it was going to be dangerous now. It's better for the strong people to protect in the front, right? You need me to after all, don't you? He added, and while saying this, he was looking at Yumehi and Minhee smiled at him but she wondered why T-Sung said those words while looking at her. At this moment, Kang Hansoo senses that T-Sung thinks of him as a rival. He pushed away T-Sung's hand from his shoulder and told himself that he would not let it slide. They continue their walks downstairs and T-Sung is very confident to lead the way. While walking, Yumehi asked Kang Hansoo why they were going down. Kang Hansoo then instantly answered that they would ride the subway. Are there still any trains operating? Yumehi asked, and Kang Hansoo answered, you'll see. He recalls the man again who told him about the hidden dungeon. During that time they were talking, someone butt in, saying that he bet the dungeons the guy had been to don't even come close. The guy glanced at the person who interfered. But they didn't know the man's name and he said that he only interfered because he heard the brown-haired guy showing off his basically non-existent knowledge. He sat in the middle and pushed away the brown-haired man while saying that he would tell them the fastest way to become strong. He pointed to Kang Hansoo and told him that he needed to get his hands on one important thing in the tutorial zone, which is down in the subway. The stations are located and structured differently but it's the same everywhere until the 3rd floor. If they go through the portal in the middle of the stairs and go all the way down, there's a subway that hasn't left yet. If they can get on it, they're basically done. The only problem is that it's hard to get there, that subway will leave after a day. Kang Hansoo was very eager to solve the hidden piece today at all costs. As they arrived at the middle of the stairs, they finally saw the portal. Yumehi was surprised upon seeing it as it wasn't the same as the Gangnam Station in their past life. She had been to Gangnam Station several times, but she never heard of an entrance like this portal. Are you really going on? You don't even know what's in there, she asked. I'm just going with my instincts. Like I said before, anyone who wants to go back is free to leave anytime. Kang Hansoo casually answered. Not like Yumehi. T-Sung was very confident to enter the portal. Since he volunteered, Yumehi has the confidence to also come with them. This time, Kang Hansoo feels that Yumehi is getting antsy, so he believes that the lady has probably gotten a good feel of the situation, that someone like her is at even greater risk. Because she's going to have to get stronger somehow, even if it means getting cut in the face. We'll stay here. We can keep hunting here after all, the other lady stated. The man with the headset was very serious while saying that he also wanted to go inside too. You, why are you going on there? You were too scared to even do anything earlier. T-Sung replied. I don't think that's any of your concern. Whatever I do, it doesn't matter to you, does it? The guy replied. T-Sung feels insulted by the way he answered and raised his tone of voice. He pointed at the guy while saying that this guy blabbered a lot for someone getting a free ride. Cleaning up after you is enough, he angrily stated. Stop with the pointless arguments. There's no time, so do whatever you want, Kang Hansoo said, and heads to the portal, preparing to go in. Yumehi and the guy then followed him while T-Sung paused for a moment and was trembling in anger as he felt humiliated. There are over 1,000 types of mobs in the tutorial zone and the terrain varies too, so Kang Hansoo believes that there are bound to be common factors. As he thought, he instantly saw it upon entering. They all saw a convenience store which surprised both the other man and Yumehi. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you wish to have another part of this recap, please give us at least 2,000 likes. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.